All right, let's consider this one. The volume of a cone is 1/3 times pi. This is the symbol pi. It's a Greek letter for like E. We use it to represent this infinite decimal, 3.14159, then it goes on forever. And we usually round it off to 3.14. So the volume of the cone is 1/3 times pi times the height times the square of the radius of the base. And we're all talking about the cone. This would be the height of the cone, the radius of the base of the cone. So we're all talking actually about the cone here. Let's simplify this down. Let's try to discover the elements we're interested in, we're using math on. So the first off, the volume of the cone. Let's call that V. Is 1/3. It's okay to consider a number is one of these elements. So it's something that a number is a thing, like a volume is a thing. Now a number is a numerical thing, a volume is a quantitative thing. That's okay. Numbers we'll consider as things. The volume of a cone is 1/3 times pi. That's another thing, a numerical thing. So we'll consider that times the height. Let's call the height h. So 1/3 and pi, we'll use them to sort of self-identify. But things like the height, let's give that something simpler. Let's just call that h. And typically, for the volume formula, they make this a lowercase h, but we'll go with this. Times the square of the radius of the base. The square of the radius of the base, that's all one thing. I'll use that red pen just so they stand out. Hopefully they do. It doesn't really come through. I guess I better use the blue. The square of the radius of the base. Well, the square of something, what are we squaring? Well, we're squaring the radius. Now, if you go back to that list, square means there's something we're putting a little 2 above. There's something we're doing that to. And what we want to identify is what should be going in here. And it's times the square of what? The radius. So for us, we're squaring the radius of the base. So if we want to slow this down a little bit, we can do this. Maybe we'll back off a bit. And we'll just go the square of the radius of the base. Let's just call this r. We'll deal with the square later. So, okay, because this is like one of our key words. And well, let's rewrite this. Let's see what we've got. So V is, oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. V is 1/3 times pi times h, the height, times, and the square of the radius of, and then well, we want to stop here, the square of r. We'll stop there. Again, we're going to back up and say, you know what, times the square of, that's one of those key phrases. We're just want to try to find objects in this case, not do anything to those objects just yet. So the object, radius of the base, that's an object, that's a thing we're manipulating with mathematics. So V is 1/3 times pi times h times the square of r. So let's translate this a bit. So again, V that's equals times, that's times again, times, and let's say we're not comfortable with this whole the square of R business yet. Let's not go there. Let's back off a bit to get B is 1/3 times pi times h times the square of R. So now let's translate this. And again, if we recall, square means there's something we're putting that little 2 on. So what are we squaring? We're squaring R. So that means V is 1/3 times pi times h times R squared. Or if we make the multiplications invisible, 1/3 pi h R squared. And that's it. So any questions about that, let me know.